land investing.
You have a massive market. The cherry on top is there's no big money in it. There's no private equity groups. There's no hedge funds. It's all these little cottage industries. So you, me, a million people can be in this niche and we'll all run out of money before we run out of deal flow.
What does someone need to start a business like this?
I want to help everyone along the economic spectrum. So if you have tons of time and no money, I'll give you, let's say you've got a good job, but you have time for a side hustle.
The real estate world is so massive. Please give us Mark the masterclass. Mark, the land geek, welcome back to the BetterWealth Show.
Caleb, thank you again for having me. Such a big fan, brother.
Man, I am pumped to have you back on. I had you on our show many, many years ago. I was actually, you didn't know this at the time, but I was in a closet in Colorado. This closet I could touch both sides, and it's just beautiful when you think about the growth that we've had. I was at a mastermind the other day, and in this mastermind we were talking about our best investments, what's working, what's not. Lots of things not working, by the way, in a lot of these circles. And one common theme that kept coming up was land investing, land investing, land investing. And I like connected the dots because I like know of you. I've been following your stuff, and I was like, man, I like my number one takeaway was I need to get Mark back on the show to do a master class on how buying land could be an amazing way to grow your wealth. And I also know that you guys since have created a way where you teach everything. You don't hold anything back, which we're going to go today on this master class. But you also have a way where you actually do it for people. And I would love, before we end, for you to at least touch on that as well, because there's some people, myself included, that love the concept, get the concept, but don't necessarily want to actually do the work. And so before we jump into the masterclass, why don't you just take a step back and just tell us a little bit of like how you stumbled on this? Because I know you didn't come out of the womb saying, I'm going to buy land and do this thing full time, but your story in itself is pretty inspiring.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. I mean, now it's Caleb, it's 25 years. We're gonna rewind the tape 25 years from now. And I was a miserable, micromanaged 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker. Picture me in a cube, fluorescent lights, watching the clock and just miserable. And so it was so bad for me, I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I'd have the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be back at work on Monday. So my firm hires this guy and he's telling me that as a side hustle, he's going to these tax deed auctions. He's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar. He's flipping them online and making 300% return on his money. And Caleb, I'm looking at companies all day long. A great company, great. Has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Average companies, 10%. I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So, of course, I'm from St. Louis. I'm from the show me state. I don't believe him. So he's like, no, 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 I'll show you. So I've got 3 grand saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico. I buy exactly what he tells me to buy. I buy 10 half-acre parcels, an average price of $300 each. I flipped them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked. So I took all that money, and I went to another auction. This is in Arizona where I live. Again, this is 2000, and there's no one in the room, and I'm buying up lots and acres for nothing. And I sell all that land. I made over $90,000 cash. So I say to my wife, and she's pregnant, I say, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she's like, absolutely not. So I said, okay, okay. So it took about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit. I've done over 6,500 deals since. I absolutely love it. Still actively buying and selling today, just more as like a CEO type of role. I'm not really negotiating the deals anymore, but more on strategy. But I still absolutely love the business.
And what I love about you is you're actively doing this. You also teach it, and you have to be careful. Some people that teach strategies, you go, "Where's most of your income coming from? Are you making all
Right.
your money teaching?" And it's like, no, that's actually like you're doing this to teach people how to go about this. Then the other question that I think I had for you back in the day is like, if this is so good, why are you teaching people the secret sauce? And I just think there's like so much abundance. And so why don't you just mention kind of like how you show up and how you help people and what does your business day to day look like today?
Yeah, it's such a good question too, because I I remember I was on it was 2011 and I'm on vacation with my family in Northern California. I remember this vividly, and I get a call on my phone. And this guy, Tori, said, Mark, I'm on your website. This is on my land website. And he's like, hey, I think he wants to buy a piece of land. He's like, I'm actually really intrigued what you do and how you do it. He's like, would you teach me? I'm like, I don't really teach people how to do this. He's like, well, what if I pay you this? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me hold on. Let me talk to my wife. So I go to my wife. I'm like, hey, this guy wants me to teach him the land business. She's like, why would on earth would you teach anybody what you're doing? You're going to create your own competition. I'm like, you're absolutely right. So I'm like, let's put on our investment banking hat and let's just take a look at how big this market really is. And so as I did the analysis, there are billions of acres of raw land just in the United States. And you could not think of a more boring real estate niche. Like you aren't going to go on HGTV or the DIY network and say, flip this land. The before picture is raw land. The after picture is raw land.
That's
So if
right.
you go to a RIA meeting, 100 people in the room, 99 of them are going to be house flippers, landlords, and wholesalers. You and I might be the only land guy. So it's boring, number one. And then you have a massive market, number two. And then the cherry on top is there's no big money in it. There's no private equity groups. There's no hedge funds. It's all these little cottage industries. So you, me, a million people can be in this niche and we'll all run out of money before we run out of deal flow. And so once I did that analysis, I'm like, I'm going to teach this guy. So I'm working with Tori and he comes across this deal in Nevada and it's a huge deal. He can't do the due diligence on it fast enough because the guy owned thousands of acres. He owed 30 grand in back taxes, and he's going to lose it to the county, right? And it was going to go to like a public auction and be competitive. I'm like, okay, we'll split this deal. I'll pay the taxes. I'll do the due diligence. We each made 300 grand on that one deal, and that was life changing money for Tori. And so it felt so great. I'm like, I really like this. And I have to say, like, I love the land business, but it really only helps my family. But land geek and helping people and being like that pebble in the pond and having that impact ripple out. Because if I can just help people solve not just their money problems, but their time problems and create this passive income, they can go on and live their best lives. And that has been the most professionally gratifying thing for me. When
Love
someone
it.
says, Mark, you've changed my life.
I love it. Well, I said when we first got on, I was like, please don't hold anything back, and I know you won't. And so please give us, Mark, the master class on how anybody that's watching or listening to this could take your knowledge and start applying this into land flipping.
Okay, so let's just go through the model first. So Caleb, where do you live?
I live in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, nice. Okay, so you're in Nashville, and let's assume that you own 5 acres of raw land where I live in Arizona, and let's say you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising two important things. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in Tennessee, properties in Arizona. And number two, you're distressed financially in some weird way because we don't pay for things like our property taxes. We don't value them in the same way. As a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Caleb, you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax deed or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5 acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. Use easy math. I'm going to divide by four. That's going to get me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I'm going to send you an actual offer of $2,500. And so you accept it. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. Now, in reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in depth research. And number one, I've got to confirm you still own the property. Number two, I have to make sure the back taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. And if you're listening to this and you feel overwhelmed by it all, right? Like this whole big property checklist, well, we delegate it. So I have a team in Jamaica and it's like $11. They're connected to an American title company. They do my due diligence for me. They're getting me the plat maps and the aerial maps. They're getting the chain of title. They're doing all of it. Now, if I was investing, say, more than $5,000, I would just go through a traditional abstract or a title company. It would cost a little bit more money. So, but this is only $2,500. I'll take a little bit of title risk. Let's assume everything checks out. I send you a check for $2,300. I send the treasurer a check for $200. I own it free and clear. Now, I don't know if you remember, I'm going to sell this property 30 days or less. I'm going to make a cash flow like a rental home. So, Caleb, do you know who my best buyer is?
The neighbors.
The neighbors, you got it. It's the neighbors.
I
So I'm gonna send
remembered. I
out,
remembered.
I'm gonna send out the neighbor letter saying, hey, here's your opportunity, protect your privacy, protect your views, know your neighbor. So oftentimes the neighbors will buy. Now, if they pass, I'll go to my buyers list. And if the buyers list passes, I'll go to a little company you may have heard of. It's called Meta or Facebook buy sell groups in the marketplace. I'll advertise there. I might even go to Craigslist. And then I'll go to the land.com, landmodo.com, landandfarm.com, landflip.com, landcentury.com, landhub.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the secret, and this is where the masterclass comes in, is in the pricing. I'm going to make it irresistible. And so all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment for this 5-acre parcel. And then I'm just making a car payment. Let's say $249 a month at 12% interest for the next 60 months. So I get this one-time sale. I get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. Now I'm getting what, $249 a month, 12% interest, next 60 months. Caleb, no renters, no rehabs,
Yeah.
no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and SAFE Act, all this onerous real estate legislation. So the simple game is, can we create enough land notes where our passive income exceeds our fixed expenses? And they're working because we want to, not because we have to. And by the way, these yields really get juiced when you don't even use your own money. If you use an infinite banking concept, the math gets insane.
Right, right, because you're using other people's money while you're still getting the benefits of your insurance. If we take a step back, the let's say you how many how much what's the percent of actual neighbors that take advantage of this? Like,
About 30%.
okay, so let's say 30%. I would imagine that they are the definition of best buyer because they're like, number one, that seems super cheap to get 5 acres. I mean, I'm looking at 5 acres in the Nashville area, and it's like $1 million. It's crazy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
number one, that's just we're not talking about prime land. We're talking about
We're buying
land that
rural land. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
rural land. So I put 2,500 in your example, so you get your money back, and then I 60 months of payments, and then what happens if they just want to prepay, or is that never happen? They just will take your seller finance.
Yeah. So if we're going to get technical, we're going to use 3 documents, right? And we're going to use software. So 90% of this is going to be automated with inexpensive software, lgpass.com on the front end, geekpay.io, which is going to be a set and forget it payment system on the back end, and then inexpensive virtual assistants. So lgpass.com is going to create, with a press of a button, it used to take me 20 minutes of paperwork. Now I just press a button. I'm going to get a promissory note, a land sale contract, and a purchase sale agreement. And so my borrower is going to sign all of that. And then I'm going to set up that note with geekpay.io. Now let's assume that they want to prepay. No problem. They can actually go and do it on their own through geekpay.io and make a prepayment. It'll do all the math. If they want to pay it off early, no problem. I'll go ahead and convey ownership via a warranty deed. Now, let's say worst case scenario, they make 10 payments and they default,
Yeah,
right? So what's happened
you get
is
the land back, I would
and
imagine.
I get the land back on a land contract because I still own the asset. So there's no cost of foreclosure, not using a deed of trust, using a land contract. So now if we do the math, right, they made 10 payments of say 250, that's $2,500. Now I got $2,500 down. Now I got another $2,500. So now what do I have? I'm pure profit. I then resell that land and my return is infinite.
How many people default on the land?
It depends on the economy. So right now we're looking at about 12% because the economy's pretty good. And we're, we don't do credit checks. So 12% is probably pretty average. If we start going into recession, then it's going to go 20%. In 2008, I had actually it was I had really get hit like 2010. 2010, because we're kind of the long tail of real estate. So when residential and commercial are getting hit, I can prepare now because I kind of know, oh, this is going to take a year or two before I feel it. Is 50% default rate
Wow.
during that time. People were calling me and saying markets between paying this land or food. And I'm going with food. I don't know if you, I mean, you're young, you probably forgot what it was like then, but the Great Recession was real. So that could happen again. But I would say that on average, we're looking at about, let's say, 12% on a default rate.
And really, are you when you're getting when you get a default, in a way, you're almost happy because the down payment, it gets your money back. So it's not like you're happy over the moon all the time, but it's like, wow, now I have essentially an infinite return and I get to resell this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the math makes me happy. The human part of it, obviously, I don't want people to lose their land.
Yeah.
That part's not fun, but the business side of it is is fantastic.
Do you, this is just a side note, do you, with what we're seeing right now in the economy, you said the economy is strong. I'm starting to see some people and the numbers looking like renters are starting to default a little bit more and all. Like, do you see that? And I would imagine that that actually helps opportunities when it comes to buying land, because when the economy is getting tougher or tighter, I would imagine that there's even more opportunities to buy land because people are having to choose, and maybe a
Yeah,
property that they don't necessarily care about is going to be more desirable to just get off their hands.
yeah, 100%. I mean, the way that it's worked when we look at it, say, I mean, it used to be a 10-year real estate cycle, which is so strange. Like now I don't even know what our real estate cycle is now. It seems like it's way longer. But in that cycle, you're going to have times where, like you're saying, right? Maybe we're going into a recession. So let's say we have high unemployment. The world's on sale because people that own these assets, they want cash. They're going to sell it, you know, all the time, right? Then we come out of recession, and then we call what I call it equilibrium. It's easy to buy, it's easy to sell. People want the assets. Then the market heats up. And we saw that a few years ago, especially during COVID, where nobody wants cash, right? They want assets. And the land starts flying off the shelf. But because of inflation, now I've got to pay more for the land than I'm used to paying. I'm still getting equilibrium in the sense that my prices have gone up as I'm paying more. So I'm still getting my same yield, but I have to figure out like, hey, what happened? Like 3 months ago, these people were accepting these offers. Now my response rate's under 3%. I know I have to jack up my
Jack
offer.
up the price.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so today we're seeing, it's really strong because of inflation. Nobody wants cash. They want assets. And so land, gold, Bitcoin, like these finite assets are continuing to go up in price.
So you're gonna have to offer a little bit more, but that means that you're able to
Yeah, I'm
ask
gonna
for
sell it more.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
right.
Okay. So if you play devil's advocate, the downside to this game is if your systems are not working well. Because I would imagine it could be a time suck if your systems are not dialed in. I'm trying to play because it's like there's really no downside other than the time energy that is going into something like this. Because if you get land, you're creating enough buffer. It is you can touch it technically. It's a real piece of land. Is there a place where you're stuck with land that you just can't sell, and now you're stuck with land that nobody wants, or is that almost like will you always be able to find a buyer? If you're a high income earner or own a successful business, you're already creating real value in the world. The real question is, are you keeping that money, protecting it, and growing it the way that actually supports your long-term goals? At BetterWealth, we help people like you better keep, protect, and grow their wealth through various tax strategies, estate planning, specially designed life insurance, retirement planning, and even a fractional family office service. If you're interested in one or more of the areas we can serve and want to learn more, the next step is to book a free clarity call with us. Click the link in the description or tag comment below to get started.
back to the video.
I always joke like there's a pig for every barn, and it's just a matter of your marketing. I mean, I bought land on the side of a mountain I thought I'd never sell, and sure enough, a like a Hollywood director bought it because he wanted to film out there and didn't want to deal with the permits with the county. So he's like, no, this is my land, I can own it. So there's like I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land. Now, even swampland, like, wait, how can you sell swampland? You can grow shiitake mushrooms on swampland. If ATVers love riding through the mud. So there's literally a highest and best use for every piece of land. Now, if you can't get there, right? Let's say that a rancher's gated off that land. During due diligence, we won't buy that land. But for the most part, you know, I'm not a land snob. In the same way, like I don't eat McDonald's, but they sell a billion of them, right?
Yeah,
So just because I don't eat it doesn't mean that
it's not
everybody
your
doesn't love
invention.
McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So, so I learned that the hard way. Um, Years and years ago, I was out buying it. Did I ever tell you the story?
I
I'm,
don't think
I'm in New
so.
Mexico. I'm in Las Vegas, New Mexico with my buddy, and this land was so ugly. It looked like Chernobyl to me. And we're looking around, but we could go and buy it over the counter. So this land was so ugly and so bad in my mind. It went to auction and no one bought it. So now it's over the counter. And the county treasurer is just selling it over the counter. Like, just take it from us. So there was 100 lots, and was it 100? Yeah, and I think it was like $50 a lot or something crazy. Like, it was super cheap. And but I'm looking around and I said to my buddy, I'm like, I'm not buying this. He's like, you don't split it? He's like, you buy 50, I'll buy 50. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm gonna sell it. Someone's gonna come out here and they're gonna want a refund. Or even worse, they're gonna sue me. It's so bad. It's so ugly. He's like, well, it's $50. He's like, I could probably just double my money. Well, he started selling those things for $1,000 online. And he would email me the sale, like to tease me. And I email him back, refund. And then he told me to do it again. And I like email him back, refund/lawsuit. He sells out. He makes 100 grand, and 50 of that could have been mine, right? And so, guess how many refunds he had? Zero. No lawsuits or fees. And that so for $50,000, I learned my lesson. I'm not the buyer,
Right.
and so it was a relatively inexpensive lesson to learn.
So I know you walk through the system where it's like, okay, I live in Nashville. I have a I'm financially distressed. I have a property that I'm back taxes on. So that tells you that there's some type of
Right. Now,
disinterest.
yeah, now that's our lowest hanging fruit. Once we're in a good county and we know there's strong demand there, I'll mail everybody. I don't care if
Okay.
you're I don't care if you're in arrears or not, right? And now there's AI. So there's this company out there, I had them on my podcast. And what they'll do is they'll take your list of owners and they'll tell you who's most probably going to accept your offer. And they use this algorithm. Do you know what the biggest indicator is?
No.
It's craziest thing. It's changing credit score. Either way, if
Hmm.
the credit score goes up or down, they're more likely to sell that asset.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Why
because there's
why
been a
why is
change.
that?
Well, if their credit score's gone down, they're financially hurting in some way. But if their credit score's gone up and things are going well for them, they might just double down on something else. Like, well,
Hmm.
I could, now I'm going to stack even more chips
I hear
and
you.
buy
I see.
something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So you've really just taken like the lowest hanging fruit is the land that has back taxes, but now you're just like, hey, you understand that if you can buy, it's the old adage, if buy low, sell high, and you're doing that, and you're eliminating so much unknowns by not getting into real estate. I want to remind people the real estate world is so massive. I mean, there's so much private equity money. There's so many people teaching. There's HDV. Like, there's so many people that are being real estate investors. So if you're watching this or listening to this and being like, well, the market's, I'm too late. Would you say that about real estate? Because there's still people making a ton of money in real estate, and yet there's so many more moving pieces, and you're dealing with a fundamental structure that's going to depreciate and create more variables. So you're essentially eliminating all the headache and hassle, and so it very much feels like I, it just makes sense to me, Mark, that this is something that it's like if you figured out a way, you're eliminating a lot of the potential levers that could really spoil a deal.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, to your point, like as far as like a market being saturated, in any point in time, you have to be flexible as an investor and a business owner. I think the people that are successful are the ones that just stay in the game and they understand like, okay, this is an obstacle and I'm going to learn from this obstacle. I'm going to get better at it. And what happens is people have low frustration tolerance. Like if I go out and play golf and I see other people playing, hitting the ball well, and I'm duffing it, I'm like, golf isn't for me, right? Now, if I practiced 3 times a week like they do, golf would be for me and I would really enjoy it. I think it's the same thing in any endeavor that you do. You have to commit. You have to know I'm going to suck, but there's only one way to get through the suck, and that's just get my reps in and get good at it. And so once you hit that point of competence, now you have this advantage in the marketplace. And so, you see just in any field, people come in, they go out. They come in, they go out. But the people that make real money and build real wealth, not just in real estate, but this is anything in life. They just stick at it. They stay with it. They
Mm-hmm.
stay with it. They stay with it. They get better and better and better. And all of a sudden, on a long enough timeline, everyone gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, we get in our own way and we quit. And it's like kind of like building a bridge. Like you build half of the bridge, you don't get to the other side. You're like, oh, it's hard to build a bridge. And you're like, okay, maybe there's a better bridge to build, and then you start all over again. But at the reality is like nothing worth doing is easy. Like this is a simpler model, but it's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not get rich quick. Like, but anything like there just isn't anything out there that is.
Yeah, there's nothing worth long term to stick into something if it's a get rich quick easy, because if it was that easy then everyone would do it, which is one of my questions. So hasn't PE why hasn't there been a lot of like BlackRock, why haven't they like done this before, or like why haven't they approached people like you, like why aren't they in the game?
They have too much money. You have $1 billion. I mean, you can't buy a $1,500 raw piece of land, right? It's just they have too much money. They need to buy a productive farmland and make 8%. That's what billionaires do, right? Bill Gates, John Malone, um, Jeff Bezos, like they're buying productive tracts of land and they're clicking 8 to 12% or a timberland play. Like that's where if you have that much capital, that's what you want to do. We're just too small. So having too little money, that's a problem too. You can't buy anything, but too much money is also a problem. So we're sort of in this Goldilocks niche where you just need to have enough money.
All right, so let's talk about the two paths. Path number one is somebody who's wanting to get started to learn about this. How much money do they need to start with? I know that this is really tough for you to say, and so don't say it if it's going to get you in trouble. But I would love to know like typical or average
I
returns of your students. I know that could just don't get yourself in trouble, but I just would love to know like that, and then where do they begin? Like whether they do it on their own or that they work with you. It's like what does someone need to start a business like this? And then it's like it's one thing to listen to a podcast, but it's like how does someone go about learning this? Whether they work with you guys or if they do it on their own. Like let's talk about that, and then I want to talk about the fund opportunity that the people in the mastermind that I was in happened to be a part of your fund, and that's where it's a true partnership with you. The downside to that is you need a lot more money. I'm sure you need to have certain accreditations deal, and so that's not for everyone. But I would love to almost like cover like the two paths, and if I'm missing a third path, let me know. But those are like the two paths that I see that I would love to like gain clarity on how someone could learn more if they were interested in potentially having this as a part of their portfolio.
Yeah. So I want to help everyone along the economic spectrum. So if you have tons of time and no money, I'll give you free information. You can go on YouTube or the podcast and you can get all this free information and you can do this on your own. So, in fact, even for your listeners, I'll give them my book, Dirt Rich, for free. Just pay shipping. That's a really good way to start learning. And then let's say you've got a good job, but you have time for a side hustle. I'll do it with you. So we have programs where we'll do it with you. We provide the accountability with the training, everything you need to start your business and buy and sell raw land. And then let's say that you're rich, but you're not wealthy. So you've got tons of money, but you have no time. I'll do it for you. And that's the partnership piece. So depending on where you are on that spectrum, we can help you. And so um, that's, yeah, that I would say that as a good next step, get the book. And then if you're an accredited investor and you're like, oh, okay, I've got a lot of money, but I have no time and I want to get a good return. And I like the fact that, you know, here's an asset these guys are buying for me, 25, 30 cents the dollar. Um, I have no debt, right? They're paying cash. So interest rates can do whatever they want. We don't care. The asset's unique in the fact that there's nothing physical. So pandemics, fires, floods, hurricanes, we don't care. The land remains. And so that's fantastic. And then when we sell the land, it cash flows. We have no headaches, no renters, rehabs, renovations, or rodents. And so, and just like we were talking about, if there's a default, great. We just lower our cost basis. We do it again, and we get the power of compounding. And again, when you marry this with a infinite banking strategy, um, the returns are insane. I would say I don't want to give out numbers publicly, but I would say that we outperform everybody. Um, from a risk reward ratio, we have the best thing going.
Okay.
I'll just say that. But like, yeah, you know, but again, it's realistic. Um, I'm not. You're not going to make crypto returns, but you're not going to have crypto losses either.
Right. Right. The students that have gone through your system, how what's real, like what's an average, the people that are actually getting results, are you, is the goal to like, how does that usually work? I know
It depends on
everyone's
how
a little
much.
bit different.
Yeah, it depends how much capital they have coming in. So I say if you have start with $5,000, that you can get up to $500 a month in passive income. If
Okay.
you can start with more, right? Like let's say you start with $100,000, you should get up to about $8,000 to $10,000 a month in passive income in say 12 to 18 months, depending on your learning curve and the market. So you can kind of just do the math from there. Now the question is, well, what if I don't have the capital? Well, there's capital out there. Money's cheap. It's a skill that's rare. Can you do the hard thing, which is buy this asset 25, 30 cents on the dollar? If you can, money will find
Yeah.
you.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely get the information down below to get the book and then the different paths if you're interested. And Mark, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you want to say? I mean, any cool stories, any like epiphanies, anything to watch for? We're recording this
You,
in 2025 near the end and in
you,
October. So I'm just curious to hear like
I
what are you most excited about?
well, I've got my third book. So I got Dirt Rich. I got Dirt Rich 2. They're out how to scale a land business, but I'm working on Dirt Rich Forever, which is a mindset book about striving and how do we strive and be like a duck. So calm above the surface, but paddling furiously below. So I'm very excited about my first mindset book coming out. And then as far as a story, um, one of my clients from 3 years ago, she had a goal. She owned a marketing agency, and she just texted me. I can read it. Let me see. It made my day. This is a few days ago. She said that she's a seven-figure land business, and she made 270 grand on cash flips this year, which is the most she's ever done in cash. And it's changed her life. She's playing pickleball. She she quit her agency and she's living her best life. And I think that's ultimately my dream, is to help people create more freedom, joy, purpose in their life. That's why we do what we do.
I love it, man. Well, Mark, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And I very much, like, I'm committed to creating content that helps people think differently. And I know that there's many people that use infinite banking to work with you. And there's a lot of our clients that are stacking money in insurance policies as not as an investment, but as a place to storehouse cash. And they're looking for opportunities. And I always get uncomfortable when people ask, like, where should I invest money? Because I never want to be the person that's saying, do this, do that. And so that's why I have this platform. That's why we have other resources to just give people options. And I know firsthand people that are using their policies and their liquid capital to invest and into opportunities, whether it's education or whether it's working with you. And their whole goal is to create cash flow. So there's nothing magical about any of this stuff. It just is like, if you have capital and you're not you don't necessarily want to put all your money in the Wall Street casino, as our friend Russ Morgan would say, and
Right.
you want to look for other options. This is definitely one of those things that seems pretty uninspiring when you just think about, like, yeah, it's not necessarily something that you're going to brag about, or you're not going to have like the big exciting buildings and all, but it's one of those things that once you create a system, it works. And you guys have, I would say, you guys spend more time on just systematizing things. That's one thing I've just been really impressed with, is like, it's one thing about the philosophy. Actually, the philosophy is pretty easy and simple to understand. It's the how do you get the systems to do it, because a lot of people would be discouraged if 97% of people are saying no. Most people would be like, oh, this is not working. But the fact that you guys are making so much profit and cash flow on the 3% is pretty special in itself.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, yeah, it's all about systems. Even a bad system is better than no system, because you can iterate on it and fix it.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you.
cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks, Kevin.
If you're an accredited investor and want to find a place where you can look at all the advanced tax strategies that I know, or if I've been pitched or I've heard, I've created a place for you. It's called taxandassets.com. It's a free community for accredited investors that want to go deeper on potential tax strategies for you to do research on, for your tax team to do research on. You can go to taxandassets.com or check out the link in the description.